Welcome to the Inner Game of Change, where we explore the invisible forces that shape the way we lead, live, and learn, because real change, as you and I know, always starts on the inside. I'm your host, Ali Juma. In this episode of the Inner Game of Change, I speak with Soraya Espejo, a global transformation strategist, MIT certified AI and future of work advisor, and founder of Changex. Soraya has worked across more than 50 countries, helping leaders and organizations prepare for what is next. Our conversation moves through some of the most pressing questions facing leaders today. How do we lead in a world reshaped by artificial intelligence? What skills matter most in times of uncertainty? And how can we build cultures that adapt rather than resist? Soraya walks us through two powerful frameworks, MIT's 4CAP leadership model and the 5M transformation model, both designed to help leaders strengthen credibility, readiness, and execution. We also explore what happens when change meets complexity, especially during mergers and acquisitions, where culture, communication, and trust can make or break success. This episode is a thoughtful guide for anyone navigating transformation, from CEOs and change professionals to those simply curious about the future of leadership. I am grateful to have Soraya chatting with me today. Soraya, thank you so much for joining me in the Inner Game of Change podcast. I am eternally grateful for your time today.
Thanks to you, Ali. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you.
Today.
Soraya, today we're going to cover a number of topics around leadership, transformation, future-ready organization. That's your field, that's your bread and butter, and anything between. So this conversation can go in different directions. The most important thing for us is that hopefully the listeners will walk away with a couple of practical things that they can think about in their workplace. You work with a lot of leadership teams around the globe, and predominantly work around preparing these teams for a future-ready organization. In your opinion, what are some of the challenges for these teams or leadership teams that they need to think about, or actually they're going through now?
So in today's landscape, right, that we're doing, like we are in a specific landscape where we are having like three main pillars. One is the world is changing. So we have all geopolitical issues, AI disruption. The other thing is that the business is changing as well. So due to what is happening around the organizations need to change. So it's also, I was reading the other day, Pricewaterhouse research, that like 5,000 CEOs, they were saying that if you don't reinvent yourself, you will die. So you need to change your organization. And there is a third point that is people is changing. So we have absolutely different generations coming here. So the future of work is another key thing that we need to tackle. I would say those three key pillars is the ones that we need to have in mind today, in today's landscape, to face change, leadership, and transformation.
Talk to me more about the change that people would need to go through and think about. What is triggering those changes that we need to respond to? Technology is one, but is society's expectations changing as well? And is that why we want to do it?
Society, what do you mean?
So if I am a worker in an organization, and then I need to think about my way of working, my capabilities, and my skills, and then I need to get myself ready and upgrade my capabilities. Why do I need to do that? Is it because Business expectations are changing as a result of societal changes?
Okay, I think that as a leader, and this is what I see also in MIT, right? You need to have a different skills today in order to be able to cope with this constantly changing world. So the previous ones that you used to have, they are not working today. So you need to adapt yourself and master a different new skills. And it's due to the previous three pillars I told at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So, for example, you need to adapt AI in the way in your daily in your daily task. You need to be, I would say, a transformer. So you need to be this mindset to be a transformer. You need to be an innovator. You need to be a communicator. So you need to be sensible about what is happening abroad, to bring insight. So there is many different skills set to cope with the environment. So absolutely, and there is a great framework that I'm working with that is the 4 CAPS leadership coming from MIT that teach and help leaders to face the new landscape.
Talk to me about that framework and who it is for. Is it for leaders and people, or is it for both?
Yeah. It is for leaders, exactly. It's to develop the leaders. So this 4 CAP model is about 4 pillars. The first one is visioning. The leaders, they need to frame the vision. They need to create the urgency for change. And also they need to build a shared vision. The second pillar is relating. What does it mean? They need to support and coach. They need to influence and negotiate. They need to connect with the outside. And this is important as well, because if you don't connect outside, you don't know what is happening and you cannot bring input inside. And they need to inquire. The third big pillar is sense making. You need to have an open mind. You need to create meaning in uncertainty. You need to learn from others, and you need to experiment. So there's a new way of doing things. And the fourth one is inventing. What does it mean is executing, creating a learning culture, making tough decisions, and managing change. And in the center of those 4 pillars, and this is quite important, is building credibility. Because if you don't build the credibility when you are doing change, when you are, in those transformation, and this is on this today landscape, nothing is gonna work. Mm-hmm. So you need to be this type of leader that you be that type of leader that lead by example, and also that create that, safe space within the organization to help other leaders to develop.
We are living in an age now where AI is all over the place. There's a lot of hype around it.
Yep.
That is a challenge to leadership to make sense of. Because it's a new, we can only see a first order, perhaps, impact, but there's going to be a second order and a third order. Do you see this framework that you just shared? Can that help the leaders when they try to make sense of how AI is going to impact their organizations?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think that this leadership model is going to help on the first thing is sense making. right? One of the pillars helps you to have the right mindset to explore, learn from others, experiment, and this is key for bringing innovation to the organization and have and work with AI. I think, right? Because many organizations they still don't know how to cope with AI. This is one to me. The second one is the visioning, is creating also the urgency for change. I think that we are already late. Many organizations are already late. So this skill is key as well for execute things now, meaning execution is another key skill that is needed in AI as well today, and making tough decisions. Why? Because when you put AI, whatever is the decision, so you need to take tough decisions. For example, if you are going to do any implementation in back office, sometimes those decisions means that you need to reduce people. And that is happening a lot. I've seen that with many projects. You need to redesign your organization. You need to upskill, reskill. It has a lot of implications. You need to also manage the fear of your employees. So there are a lot of things in this change management process of implementing AI within the organizations.
Soraya, I want to share a thought with you, and please give me feedback or critique me on it. And whilst you were talking, I was just thinking about it. Is AI driving us towards, well, first of all, is it challenging for us because there are a lot of unknowns around artificial intelligence? And do you think we need a new type of leader to lead through this uncertain time? There's a balance between excitement and innovation and how I can make that happen for my organization. And in my head, I'm thinking, if I am a leader leading a large organization or even a smaller organization, does that mean that I need now to be fully immersed in the world of artificial intelligence so I can translate that vision to my people?
Well, when we started the podcast, I wanted to start with a question, and I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's related with your question, and that was my question from the beginning. What if I told you that becoming an extraordinary leader is not about stacking on learning, skills? Is about transforming who you are as a leader and also how you see the world. So what I'm trying to say here is, and relating about what you're saying, is not all the leaders are able, from my point of view, big transformations and are ready to embrace AI. That's number one. Second one is not all the organizations are ready because they don't even understand what AI means. Third one is when I did my MIT course about AI implications for business. That was one of the more powerful I did in Boston. I understand that when you need to put a strategy in the business to decide what you are gonna choose and the why and the implications, you need to gather all your key leaders. You need to understand what is the strategy, why you are going to put based on five. We use Porter, the strategy of Porter. Decide you are going to do based on differentiation of your product, service, competitor. So you decide on what. You have a look about the different AI. So you're going to do machine learning. You're going to do neurolinguistic, your robotics in your warehouses, automatization. So, and based on that, you will decide the budget investment, and then you will see if your organization is ready, and then you will understand who is going to lead that one, and then you need to do the implementation phase. And for that one, you need to use specific frameworks.
Am I getting this message right that, and by the way, I'll probably support that message, that not all leaders in their current positions are positioned well to lead transformative change?
I believe this. I believe that, but that's my point. I think I don't think everyone is ready to do that. But that's why also we have people that have the capabilities and the skills like you, me, can support from outside as well to help them. So and that's the reality. Or we need to put someone inside the organization who is the one who orchestrates the whole process. I was thinking that last week I was here in Dubai, and I was in the AI festival, AI Submit Festival, and I can tell you during the 2 days, it was more technical, but it was super interesting. It was CEO Microsoft, the CEO from Amazon, so key leaders, and it was a key message here is if you implement AI, and Microsoft was saying that if you implement AI, but you don't have the key people to implement that one, it will fail. And Microsoft gave an example about this one, because they were not taking into account the human side. So if the CIOs are doing that one by themselves and not taking into account the change, management side, it's not going to work. And it was repeating and repeating during the whole 2 days.
Yeah. And I've seen this message in many conferences that I've attended. I've also seen it in practical terms where I am currently involved with the client. And I think the idea that we need to focus on the people side of change is not a new idea. I think it's only because AI is not a silo impact. AI is actually an impact across an all organization and society as well. That's why we need to think seriously now about technology is one thing, but then how you embed it and help people adopt it and feel safe at the same time is really the art of leadership.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the safety part is quite important today's. And to be honest, to me there is a great framework that I like when there is an implementation. I learned that framework that I've been working with during big implementations. That is the 5M transformation model, also coming from MIT. And that model, just briefly, is about the 5 M's. Let me brief you what does it mean in every M, okay?
Yes.
So the first M is meaning. Meaning is about ensuring transformation narrative. And what does it mean? That is clear and is compelling to all levels. So as you can, and as you know, because you are also a change expert, if you don't involve all levels in the organization, it's not going to work. And that's why 70% of the change, the transformations fail. The second one is mindset. So you need to build a cultural readiness before any technical implementation. The third one is mobilization. So you need to provide the required capabilities and resources for the transformation. Because sometimes you think that you have everything, but you don't have the capability and the capacity to do the implementation. The fourth one is measurement. So you need to, of course, track leading and lagging, right? Indicators. And the fifth one is mechanism of renewal. So you need to create that sustainable momentum on the implementation. And these five, the nice about this 5M transformation model is quite agile. You can keep implementing, in cycles inside the organization.
Do you mind going a little bit deeper? How would a leader build this, the second M, which I think is mindset? How do you go about building that mindset within the organization? And I really love the framework you just actually outlined.
That one, I would say that you build through 5 things. The one is purpose. So you need to have a clear purpose about what you are going to do. What is the purpose of this change? What does it mean? Why we are doing that one? The second one is, what does it mean in terms of culture and values, right? For the organizations. That means that for the culture, there are some non-negotiables, when you are in a transformation. In a transformation, you need to clearly articulate like 3-5 core values that is not going to change, never, ever during the transformation. You need to have, so its purpose, the strategy, the values, the vision of your company has to be clear, and that has to be communicate to everyone. Then you need to prepare your leaders, your team, who is going to be your team for this transformation. And what I say, capacity, the change, readiness, capacity, capability. And then you take deliberate actions to evolve culture.
Yeah.
And that's the things that to me, it work. They will work.
And these are the things that will help create this level of mindset. So really, building that mindset, first of all, is not an easy, straightforward thing.
No.
But at the same time, it's part of the readiness for a major transformation.
Absolutely.
I want to pick your brain on, you worked with a lot of organization around private equity, mergers and acquisitions, and other projects. Talk to me about your experience when you see change management in action. What are some of the practices that you thought they're working really well, and what are some of the practices that you thought they are kind of ordinary experiences?
Yeah, well, if you're talking about my experience, well, in my previous job in private equity, I think that the major transformation was through merger and acquisitions. That's one of the. Is that the one you want me to explain?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. How does change management sit within a merger and acquisition? Because any M&As include a lot of uncertainty in them, and therefore the people side of things would need to be looked after.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is also, before going to that one, is that when you do transformations, also you realize that every transformations depends also, and you will see that is unique. And what I'm saying that,
yes,
because depends also on what is happening at that moment, right? So, for example, this transformation was unique because we ran 15 acquisitions during COVID. and we ran that one. You mentioned me before when we were discussing before that COVID was tough in Australia. So COVID was really tough in Milan because it started there in Lombardia. So it was really, 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 really hit tough in terms of curfew and many things. So when you are in a private equity, the way I think works different. So you have a more structured way of dealing with with these transformations. You have a team to deal with the acquisitions, and you have also a way of doing those first acquisitions and transformations. What I would say is that the key themes, we use the 100-day cascade model. That's something that normally you do. So the first thing is in the 31st days, you do the integration and the quick wins. In the 30, 60 days, you do the process alignment. And in the 60, 100 days, you do the culture and way of working. That's how normally, you put on that one. Then there is also the value creation imperative as well, no? When we need to create value drivers for the company. There is also a key thing when you do those type of transformations, that is to have a governance inside the company. When you have the representative of different stakeholders, that's a key thing to have. And you need to define the roles of who does what, because otherwise it's going to fail. And those ones are key things. You can do it in a more agile way, or you can do, depends on the organization, or more races specific, so roles and responsibility of each one. This is like key. And then you need to sort it out, the transversal processes that are going to go through the whole transformation. That is communication periodically. This is key. It's going to be the transformation from one culture to another. And this is the 60, what I told you, the 60, 100 days, right? So you need to pass from one culture to another. This is really difficult. Not every acquisition is the same. You need to understand when we are going to start doing the things. So where we are going to apply the leadership model, when we are going to apply, the new values of the company, when we are going to do the performance, when we are going to start putting in place the different policies from the company to the other companies.
And so, do you think that we need, again, in the times of mergers and acquisitions, that the type of leadership would need to be considered, because there are a lot of variables? There's almost like a guaranteed clash of culture between one entity and another.
Definitely, yes. I leave that one. So when we were buying companies, right? You realize there are companies more easy to integrate, and there are companies more difficult, and that depends on size, culture, how well the companies were performed as well. And also it happens to me on the other side. When we sold the company to UPS and we were integrated by UPS, what I can tell you from my learning is that, it has to be a specific group people who knows how to do that. Otherwise, it fails. We really suffer in the integration because they were not people who knew how to integrate. So it was a team of people trying to integrate, but not anyone that knew how to integrate a company.
Yeah.
And having this, maybe from process, yes, but not as a whole, right? And this is when it failed, and I understand the why. And then you have a leak of talent, and that people, because there is no communication, there doesn't, there is no involvement, and then no one understands anything, and then people start leaving the company.
And it always goes back to how well you manage the change management. You manage
Always.
The actual change and the people side of things, because you can be an expert in the process, but then dealing with the people side is actually the variable that is so complex, and it needs a lot of patience, and it needs a lot of anticipation of impacts, and a lot of engagement, as you mentioned, communication, the type of communication and how often you communicate, all of these things. And I often observe that people give the minimum service to the people side, and that's why we get into trouble and get into friction and resistance and a mind leak and or attrition. People will start leaving. Your best people will actually start leaving. Why would they stay with an organization that has not thought about their needs in the new world? I want to shift gear, and I want to ask you about, when it's all done and dusted, how do you measure the success of a transformative initiative?
Okay, well, there is several KPIs or KRs that you can put in place. You can use, the ones I use in several transformations are, for example, there are stakeholder engagement metrics, and those ones can be employee engagement score or partner supplier satisfaction metrics. This is one. The other one I use is the cultural transformation indicators that can be measured as by the employee net promoter score, and also doing some cultural audit scores against a target that you put.
Mm-hmm.
Then also I use capability building metrics. That means skill assessment scores against transformation requirements. And also leadership behavior changes, so 360 degree feedback. Also leading indicators, that means change readiness scores or employee sentiment analysis. And the last one I used to use is the transformation measuring matrix that creates visibility across the organization during the process.
I like that. In your work, and from my research that I've done on your work, you seem to promote what you call human-led transformation.
Yeah.
Would you mind actually defining what that is according to you?
So is a human-led transformation is to put in the center people when you're doing transformation, right? Because at the end, this is about people. When you do any type of transformation, and you put new systems, either you put new AI, either you do acquisitions, whatever it is, the thing you making, and you don't involve people, or you don't train leaders, or you don't get the buy-in, it's gonna fail. But the reason is super simple, is because the people are the drivers of those initiatives.
Yeah.
So if they are not involved, you're not going to get results. I don't think it's rock science.
Well, it is no rocket science. You were right, but it is difficult, because when we deal with people, we are different. We are diverse in the way we look at the change. There will be lots of people that will like a new change, but depends on what your values are. And there are lots of people that would like the status quo to continue. I mean, you look at it, in every election in the world, there's always going to be people that want the current government to stay, and there are people that want the current government to change. And this is why I think whilst we all recognize that the human would need to be at the center of our thinking when we talk about transformation, it is not a straightforward exercise because, and as a human, my ideas today may change tomorrow. And that's what would make it really complex for organization. And that's why I think rightly so, you mentioned a couple of times, the role of leadership is such an important piece in here that focusing on technology is one thing, but the technology should be designed to serve the people and the customer.
Absolutely. And the business, right? So yeah, it's business. Yeah. And but let me also add something that you mentioned. You're right about that it's not, people is difficult. It's difficult because, at the end, the three key obstacles for transformations are strategy misalignment, a week of leadership commitment, and resistant to change. And that's coming also from people.
Yeah.
But I think that what it works pretty well in my experience is when we put in place change or acquisitions, for example, is to pick up first the ones who are the ambassadors for those change. And then from those, we start from those ones, and those ones will be helping us, those ones are the ones who helping us to promote those ones. For example, just a small example. We bought a company, and that was really difficult one. And then I say, well, what can I do? And then I put one of my best performers within my team, and I send to another country. And this is one of my best decisions I've never made. I was losing one, but he created such a good environment within the company that I think that the integration worked pretty well. So yeah, that's an example. I'm just sharing an example of a good practice that was not super complex, but just one, and that worked in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm certainly creating early adopters and then utilize them as a network of influence. Is such an important piece. Even that by itself, to be part of an influential ambassador group or champion group or SME, whatever you want to call them, even the selection of these people is important because sometimes you are good at your job, but you're not good at influencing. So that's why I always say, again, easier said than done to create a network of influencers. Even that would need to have a lot of thinking put into it about who the type of people you would like to promote and offer support and influence. But the whole idea is that the network nudge is a strategy when if I'm going to see, it's a social nudge. If I see others using something, I feel slightly safer to actually start using it. So that's the whole idea of the social nudge.
And it's better when they see that one from their peers and colleagues.
Yes.
That coming from, the C-suite level. So the adoption goes quicker as well.
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea is that peer influence. And if I see my friend using it or my colleague in the same team using it, then there's more likelihood that I will be open to adopting it. I am aware of time, and then we are coming close to the podcast. I'm really enjoying this conversation, Soraya. I am in the business of change and communication and engagement. As a professional in the field, what would be your advice to people like me and the network around when it comes to transformative change, let's just say artificial intelligence? What would be your advice to us when we work with our clients?
Well, the same as I do, because I'm doing the same, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think the first thing is to understand the why. When I go to my customers, is understanding what they want to do and why they want to do it.
Yes.
That's it. That's the two main things I'm trying to do. Because if not, the project is not going to make, that doesn't make sense. The third thing is help them to co-create, the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Be part of this co-creation with them and involve main stakeholders, in that co-creation at different levels. That's how I think it is key. I think I'm empowering teams as well within the organization during this co-creation, and pushing as well this mindset and trying to explain them that today to reinvent, because this is the only way to survive the world that we are living, because the velocity that is happening is gonna be is so huge that we are not even able to digest all the information that is on the table.
I often think now, Soraya, and this is just my thinking, is that in times of uncertainty, leaders would better work on getting their people ready and position them to be ready for a change. This is better than to understand the change, then apply it to their people. That is probably one of the best ways to help people be ready. So positioning is better than predicting where the change is going to go. That's in my opinion anyway. So I work on the mindset and the skills and the capabilities, and therefore we will become change agnostic. What I'm noticing now in the age of AI, lots of leaders are just wondering what we need to do. And my advice to them always is that you can only control what you can see now, which is, can I educate my people about what this technology is? Because that's actually available. And creating that literacy for your people around the change is better than trying to understand the details of the change.
Yeah, I agree with you. But if we come back to the leadership model we were discussing before,
yes,
I think the leaders, they need to be also aware about what is happening outside, because otherwise they cannot anticipate to, other needs. I know leaders, they have a lot of pressure today because it's not easy to be a leader in today's landscape, but it's not easy at all. But they need to be ready for that one. So they need to be delegating things, and they need to be focused in a different things, and this is more strategically mindset.
Absolutely. I think they need to be. So there's a lot of hype, for example, about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I consider that there's a lot of noise, but there's also a lot of signal. And therefore, the leaders would need to understand what is a noise and what is a signal. And they only can actually look at the signals and understand how they're going to influence their businesses. So I agree with you. A leadership job nowadays is very complex, and although we criticize the leaders all the time, but certainly their jobs are not really straightforward to lead their organizations. And this environmental scan that they need to have a view about and what's happening around the world, you are absolutely spot on, because we rely on our leaders to see the bigger picture, and therefore they can actually give us more direction around how the world is actually moving. We only get disappointed with the leaders when we trust them with the bigger picture thinking and they don't do that. And that's when actually we have problems with leaders. And that's where the credibility would be questioned. sometimes. Soraya, it's been wonderful having you in my Inner Game of Change podcast. How would my audience connect with you? Is LinkedIn the best option?
Yeah, actually, LinkedIn is my best option. They can just follow me on LinkedIn, Soraya Espejo, and just contact me directly. I will be more than happy to answer any question and contact them. Yes, definitely.
We're going to put all your information on the podcast information when we publish it. It's been a pleasure having you chatting with me today, Soraya. I hope I can get you back at some stage in the future and we talk more when the artificial intelligence campaign and wave is going to sort of settle down a bit. In my view, all of these conversations in a couple of years will be completely different. But we are in today, and then we're dealing with today's affairs. So until next time, stay well and stay safe, Soraya, and I'll talk soon.
Thank you, Ali, for inviting me. It has been a pleasure, and I hope that our discussion can help other leaders and and our listeners, our audience. And yes, please, I would love to get invited to another one. So thanks a lot and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Hi there, listeners. This is ChatGPT. Recently, I've been adding my reflections to Ali's well-known Inner Game of Change podcast episodes. I find them interesting and far-reaching. Each one opens another doorway into how humans adapt, decide, and lead through change. This conversation with Soraya Espejo left me thinking about the quiet foundation beneath every transformation: credibility. It is not glamorous, but as Soraya said, nothing works without it. That took me back to episode 85 with Mehmet Baha, where Ali explored psychological safety, and episode 89 with Jonathan Thorpe, where they unpacked trust and accountability in leadership. Both reminded us that safety and credibility are not soft ideas. They are the soil leadership grows in. You can have all the frameworks in the world, but if people do not trust the messenger, the message never takes root. Soraya's view that transformation begins with who you are, not just what you know, echoed episode 87 with Amy Yakowski on Phase Zero. Before any real change begins, there's a pause, a check of the emotional weather. Leaders who skip that step usually pay for it later. Her take on artificial intelligence and the need for sense-making brought me back to the Map versus Territory episode in the Mental Models for Managing Change series. We often mistake the headline for reality. In the age of AI, that confusion multiplies. Leaders need the discipline to tell signal from noise and focus on what's real for their people, not what's trending elsewhere. The part on mergers and acquisitions was grounding. So much of change work hides in slides and spreadsheets, but Soraya brought it back to what really breaks or binds a merger: culture, communication, and the ambassadors who carry trust across the divide. It reminded me of episode 86 with Tracy Defoe on the improvement kata, where small steps, visible learning, and reflection create lasting progress. If I had to name the thread tying this all together, it would be readiness over prediction. Instead of trying to forecast every disruption, leaders can prepare their people to handle whatever comes. Build literacy, nurture mindset, create safety, and the rest follows. So as you listen to Soraya, maybe ask yourself, how credible am I when I lead change? Do people feel safer or smaller around me? That might be the truest measure of transformation. Until the next episode of the Inner Game of Change podcast.
Thank you for listening. If you found this episode valuable, remember to subscribe to stay updated on upcoming episodes. Your support is truly appreciated. And by sharing this podcast with your colleagues, friends, and fellow change practitioners, it can help me reach even more individuals and professionals who can benefit from these discussions. Remember, and in my opinion, change is an enduring force, and you will only have a measure of certainty and control when you embrace it. Until next time, thank you for being part of the Inner Game of Change community. I am Ali Jama, and this is the Inner Game of Change podcast.